setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. Thanks for joining me. So our conversation today that you and I are going to have, I hope you sit back, get your cup of coffee, and let's talk about our exhaustion on politics. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
So how is it in your part of the world? I tell you, I'm looking at mine and I see dark clouds out there, which means that we're probably going to get some rain today. I'm in Palm Beach, Florida, the capital of billionaires. I think we have about 40 billionaires that live on the little island of Palm Beach. If you've never been here, Palm Beach is separated by water. And there's a little island out there called Palm Beach, and then when you cross the bridge, it's West Palm Beach. Just as nice as Palm Beach. But Palm Beach, if you go out there are multi-million-dollar homes. Beautiful homes. But what I find different between the East Coast and the West Coast is on the West Coast, they really flaunt their wealth. On the East Coast, they pretty much drive the Hyundais, and every once in a while you'll see a Bentley. Very seldom. But you'll see people who have wealth but don't talk about it. They don't flaunt it. You might be sitting next to talking to a billionaire, and you would never know it because everybody is a little bit different here in Palm Beach. At least that's what I found so far. Now, I've only been here 4 weeks now. So I'm still learning. But I'm just amazed at how beautiful it is here. The ocean is nice and warm. It's like stepping into a bath water when you go walk into the ocean. Unlike on the Pacific Coast in Los Angeles, when you walk into that water, it is ice cold. It's freezing. Only kids can be out there, and surfers who really love the water that much can be out there in that cold water on the Pacific Coast. And you would think that on the East Coast it would be icy cold. But it's nice and warm and beautiful here in Palm Beach. So I was thinking, and I hate to do this, I do a Political Tuesday podcast only because things get up my craw and I get pissed off. So this morning, I decided, you know what, I'm going to spend a little bit of time, because I only spend 30 minutes a day on news, and that's written form, that's on the internet and television. So this morning, I was feeling a little bit lazy, so I turned on the news on television. And it's exactly where I left off when I stopped watching TV a few months ago. It doesn't change, does it? It's the same politicians. It's the same impeachment. It's the same Russia. It's the same nonsense of Russian bots, and it never ends. It just keeps going on and on. And for 3 years, we've been hearing this storyline, and it keeps going on and on. Whether or not if you're on the right or if you're on the left or if you're in the middle, whatever political belief that you are, I have a feeling that you and I are getting very tired of this. We're tired of it. We're tired of all of these comments and all of this analysis and everything else, and everybody talks as though that they know the Constitution, and they stand behind, well, we're doing this because of the Constitution, when actuality they have no idea what the Constitution even says. And so we keep seeing this. We keep seeing this nonsense that goes around and around and gets discussed every single day on the same stupid topic. Now, we all know that in Congress, nothing is getting done. They came back from their recess, and they've only got 2 bills on the floor, and they're both amendments. That's all they've got. And so they have all these committees going into this impeachment stuff, but they're doing absolutely nothing else for the sake of the country, or for you and me. And maybe I've got to come on here every single day, which I hate. I hate talking politics, but maybe I have to come on here every single day to remind you that you'd better start telling people, listen, you're a congressman, do your job. Constitutionally, you have a responsibility to represent me and you and all the rest of Americans and to do your job. I love this quote, and I wasn't going to start with this, but I love this quote, and it's from Abraham Lincoln. And it's very true even to this day. To this day, we still need to remember what he says, and he said this: "We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who prevent the Constitution." Abraham Lincoln. So he must have been having some problems back then, too, where people wanted to throw out the Constitution and replace it with political law instead of constitutional law. Let's read it again. Say it again. We the people, that's you and I, are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men and women who prevent the Constitution. Abraham Lincoln. So here we are. We're sitting here, and nothing's being done. But we are the rightful masters of Congress, because we pay our taxes and they are supposed to represent us. So this is what I want done. And I think you want it done also. Let's focus on our infrastructure. What needs to happen? Our roads are crumbling. Our highways are falling apart. We have pieces of highway that go straight up into the air but end nowhere. We have bridges that need to be maintained. We need an infrastructure that can get people faster to where they need to go, because our infrastructure is overloaded by cars. We need stuff done on trying to improve this homeless situation that we have in these cities. And this, I tell you, California, I think, has 50%, or well, I forget what the percentage is, but it's a high percentage of all of the homeless individuals in the United States. I mean, why wouldn't you go there? Perfect weather, right? But yet, we have the city of Los Angeles who's trying to get something in the way of a decree from the governor to say it's an emergency, but they have no plan on how to take care of the situation. And this has been happening now for 3 years. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The problem becomes worse. And yet nothing gets done. So Congress needs to step in. We have a high crime rate where we have shootings and killings every single weekend and week in the city of Chicago, but yet Congress decides not to do anything. They sit back and instead they talk about gun control. Let me tell you, if you are an individual who has a criminal mind, You don't care where you get that gun. So gun control is not going to help it. Not one bit. If you're a criminal, you'll find any way. Then I think the FBI just came out with a report saying that knives and machetes and other types of instruments were killing people higher than the amount of guns. So no matter what, if somebody is angry enough or mentally off or mentally challenged, they will find a way to kill somebody. Not just with guns, as the FBI has shown in their latest report. But we need that addressed. We need to know, what can we do for the people of Chicago to stop this madness that no one wants to attack? We could go on and on with a huge list of things that need to be done for our country that Congress decides. Look at our health care. Our health care is all screwed up because of Obamacare came in and it screwed everything up. And the members of Congress who passed Obamacare knew that that was not a clean bill, and yet they did nothing to fix it. They did nothing to clean it up. So they have a lot of answering to do. All these politicians who voted for measures or bills that hurt Americans need to be held accountable for that. And those who are pushing a socialist agenda need to be held accountable for that. Because socialism doesn't work, and we can look out at all these countries where nothing has worked when it comes to socialism. We need to hold these members of Congress and members of the Senate accountable for the non-work that they have done for Americans in the last 3 years, and it's gotten really bad. I was thinking last night, I said, gosh, maybe there's a way that we can shut down Congress, recast the vote for members of Congress, and then come back to session, kind of like what they do in London, where they shut it down, everybody has to go out for be revoted, and then they can move on with the country. I'm beginning to wonder if we're not at that point here. Because we have absolutely nothing being done in Congress. I mean, to come back from a 2-week vacation recess and then only have 2 bills to vote on, which were amendments, that is worthless. Absolutely worthless. But we have a mentality now, and it's all based upon hate. And it's based upon hate for one single man. Now, I remember when Obama was born. Oh, not born. But when he became president, and people were saying, look at his record, look at his history, look at this, look at that. And even the Republicans at that time, you heard the word impeachment. You heard it all the time. Not as strong as the Democrats that made it on Trump. But the discussion was out there and it was being held. This is impeachable, that's impeachable, what he did here was impeachable, that was... The same thing is going on right now with Trump for the last 3 years. It happened exactly with Obama too. Everybody wants to impeach everybody. If they don't believe in how you speak politically, they want to impeach you. And that's where we get into trouble. Because now we are, I don't like what you did, so I'm going to get rid of you. I don't like what you did, so I'm going to get rid of you. I don't like what you say, so I'm going to get rid of you. And I'll lie, and I'll steal, and I'll cheat. I'll do whatever it takes to get my way. Because I am in power. I am now the Congress. That's the mentality in Congress at the moment. And this is really a treasonous action that we see happening. Because since they don't believe in you politically, they want to get rid of you. That is treason in the terms of American law. We have to get out of this way and get back to work. I mean, here you and I, we may go to our jobs, and we may not like people, we may not like our boss, we may not like the company, but we do our job. And we do it the best that we can do. We don't stop. We don't try to overthrow the company. We don't try to remove the president of the company. No, we do our job. And the same principle should be applied to the members of Congress who go in and are supposed to be doing their job as Congress people, but instead they're not. They're doing what is politically motivated. I tell you, Henry Cabot Lodge, not junior, but senior, the older Cabot Lodge. He was a U.S. Senator out of Boston. And he said these words, and we have to live by these words even to this day because it's so very true. It says, "Beware how you trifle with your marvelous inheritance, this great land of ordered liberty. For if we stumble and fall, freedom and civilization everywhere will go down in ruin." So you think about those words and you say, you know what, we are stumbling and we are falling at the moment. And look at the world around us as they stumble and fall because there's no leadership within Congress, there's no leadership in the Senate, because they don't have the balls to do something that's right. Instead, they want to do something that's politically wrong. So we have to worry about this inheritance that we have of freedom, of liberty. We have freedom of speech and freedom of religion and freedom of everything. And as you look at some of the comments of the political candidates over the weekend, where they said that churches should not be given this. If they don't believe in gay rights, then they should have their charitable organization taken away from them. They're no longer a non-profit organization. So government is trying to tell, members of government are trying to tell you, if you don't believe this way, you are no longer a church. That's very dangerous. Because now they're saying, we will take your religious freedom away. No matter how you believe, we will take it away. If you don't believe with me politically, I will try and take away your religious or organization. That's very dangerous because now that steps right into the Constitution where it says we have the freedom of religion. Sad, isn't it? Very, very sad. Americans have got to stand up to these members of Congress and say, no, you're wrong in the way that you're thinking. You may be an atheist and you might approve of what that congressman is saying about religious liberty and taking away the religious liberty from Americans. But that is wrong because that is not what our Constitution is built upon. That's why people came from England and other countries back when we formed this country. They came because they were oppressed by religion. They were oppressed by a king. They were oppressed by taxation. They were oppressed. And now they came to the United States and they had this freedom and they made a constitution to protect these freedoms of religion and speech and everything else. And now we have politicians who want to take it away. It's a ridiculous. It's a ridiculous premise that we can overstep the Constitution on political views. If they don't believe how you should believe, because it's their philosophy. It's their belief. You have to believe as they do. And if you don't, you better watch out, because something's going to be taken away from you. Now, I want to tell you something. Henry Cabot Lodge Jr. also came up with an amazing statement. And it's a very short and simple statement that each and every single one of us as Americans should remember in the back of our mind every single time we listen to politicians. And it goes like this: it is never right to compromise with dishonesty. Let me say it a little bit louder. It is never right to compromise with dishonesty. And when members of Congress become dishonest, we should never compromise, and we should remove that individual from office immediately. We cannot be sitting around and just be going with the flow, because that flow is going nowhere. It is never right to compromise with dishonesty, and we have to remember that every single day in everything that we do in business, everything that we do with our family, everything that we do with voting for individuals who are running for public office. Once they appear to be dishonest, we should never compromise, and we should never vote them in. That goes for the left, that goes for the right. We can no longer compromise with the dishonesty that is coming out of Congress and coming out of the Senate. We have to hold them responsible. And it has to start happening now. Americans, you and I, we're sitting here and we're tired and so sick and tired of listening to dishonesty. And we're so sick and tired of seeing nothing getting done. And we're so sick and tired of paying taxes and not getting anything back for it from members of Congress. All that we're getting back is dishonesty. And it's time that you and I hold those individuals responsible for what they say and what they don't do now, because they're not doing anything for the American people. This impeachment stuff is a waste of time. Total waste of time. So far, no one has shown any laws that have been broken, but they meet in secret and they're underneath the ground and they're concocting something that is dishonest, and we've got to stop this dishonesty now. Pelosi needs to be stopped. Schiff needs to be stopped. Any Republican that's supporting this needs to be stopped. Any Democrat that's supporting impeachment has got to be stopped, because it's wasting and it's dishonest, and we're wasting too much money of our American tax dollars. So, listen, Americans. I know that you're tired. I'm tired. I'm fed up. And I often wonder, what can we do that's stronger than our vote? What can we do that sends a very strong message to Washington, D.C., and also to our governors, and to our state legislatures, and to our cities, and to our counties who are operating in such a dishonest manner that they need to be stopped? And the only way that can be done is through your voice, through your writing, through your emails, through your vote. The vote is the most important of them all. But your voice is strong. We all have to make this decision between right and wrong. We all have to be ethically fit in order to say, if I vote for this individual, how will that affect the remainder of Americans? Not just me, but how is it going to affect the remainder of Americans in my communities and then in my nation? I wrote a book, and I keep repeating this because I want you to know that ethics has really hit me hard. And ethics, I had to write a book about it just to get it off my chest on being touched by unethical behavior. And it's called Ethically Thinking It's Not That Hard. Ethically Thinking It's Not That Hard. It's on Amazon.com by Cabot Lodge. But we all have to become motivated, become more ethical in choosing the individuals that are right for America and not what's wrong for America. Socialism should never be a part of our conversation. Socialism shouldn't even be a process of our thought process for what America needs. Because socialism never works. And if somebody is pushing the thought process of socialism, we have got to stop them. Socialism is not an ethical political system. It is a dishonest system that says we are going to take from the rich and we are going to give it to the poor, but it never happens. It never works that way because there's not enough money to support the poor. We have 700,000 homeless children that wander our streets and living in cars and living in shelters every single day of this nation per the study of the University of Chicago. 700,000 children every single day that are homeless. And yet we do nothing. Congress does nothing. No training programs, no get back on your feet programs, getting them back into high school, grade school, whatever educational system that they need, medical treatment that they need. If we're going to spend money on Americans, spend it on our people who are homeless, not upon illegal aliens that are coming across the border. You always put your country first. You always put our nation first. You put our people and our children first. And if anybody's trying to tell you differently than that, is being dishonest with you. We are Americans who have to support Americans. And we have to, within our communities, begin doing something internally, together, to heal our communities, to make them better, to feed the hungry, to provide medical care for the homeless, to get them off drugs, to get their mental health back on check. But we're not doing any of that. Instead, we're focused on a political action of impeachment. Listen, my friends, we have so much that needs to be done in this nation, and it's not getting done because we have politicians who stand in the way. And that is a dishonest service to this nation. So that's it for today. I've said my piece. It's Political Tuesday. I've said what was on my heart and in my mind. If you have any comments or questions, send me a text at 818-252-5682, 818-252-5682, and I'll be more than happy to respond to you. Everybody, go out and make a difference today. Go out and hold members of Congress accountable. Hold your politicians locally accountable. But let's take back this nation before we lose our liberties, before we lose our constitutional rights. We've got to take it back, and we've got to be honest with ourselves. What is right for America is the honest way to go. I'll talk with you very soon. Everybody, it's a great day. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT. Talk with you soon.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast was produced by Michael Lodge fully focused on content.